Good morning, traders. So let's have a look at the Dow. As I've been expecting most of this week, is that the weekly Kijunsen was going to offer some resistance, which it has. Okay, and let's just make it red as normal so we know exactly where it is on the lower time frames. Okay, so nothing's really changed on the weekly outlook. My concern is still T-Consen that's pointing to the downside. Okay, so apart from that, there's nothing really that stands out, and this last trend line has broken. So you would expect a retest of the break before moving to the upside. But also you can see, hang on, we need to get a level drawn in here, which is this big level here. So you can see how we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've had 5 weeks where we use this level as as resistance. Okay, and you can actually say what's it? That's one week of support, 2 weeks of support, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 weeks as resistance. So there's quite a bit happening at this level, and this is another week. Are we going to use it as support? And I think this is the real level to watch. So if we can stay above this level, then we definitely have some scope to the upside. However, it could flirt below it on the weekly, that is, and take out that Brooks gap. And for bullish momentum to the upside, that would be a pretty nice thing for it to do. But anyway, let's get to the daily. Now, if you look at the daily, and I mean we have been talking about this triangle for some time, and we finally broke through and we've come back. Now, let's just focus on Ichimoku for a second here. So we hit the cloud and we bounced back. Okay, this is the second attempt at the cloud. So this is the first, this is the second. So I'm expecting a third attempt, and hopefully third time lucky. Now the question is, where is that third attempt coming from? Now you can see that Cisco span has broken through price. We're still below cloud. Okay, so that's bullish. We've had a bullish crossover. Now we had a bullish crossover here, which was below the cloud, which didn't really materialize. And now we've had one inside the cloud, which is probably 30% stronger than this signal. Okay, and then a crossover up above the cloud is like 60% stronger than this signal. And that's just kind of how you rate it. But the interesting thing for me right now is look how the cloud is pointing to the upside, and we should be getting a crossover in a day or two. And if we just measure this out, so that's 26 bars. Yeah, so we could very much get a crossover in the next couple of days. Okay. Now we have no diversion, so everything is looking pretty hunky-dory at the moment. We have this level, which is that's not our strong weekly level, is it? That one. I think let's just make that weekly level a different color, otherwise we're not going to see it. So it is the weekly level. Figure. So this is why you want to make these not blue. Let's make it purple. Okay, this is why you want to keep cognos of these levels. So, and it's also why I start on the weekly for my morning review. So it reminds me exactly what's going on. Okay, and I think let's just get straight on to the 4 hour. Because when you look at the lower time frames like this level, which is so strong on the weekly, you can see it doesn't really stand out and shout a big level on the lower time frames. Okay, so that's why it's really important to have them in. Okay, on the 4 hour, we have had this channel break. Okay, but to be honest with you, it's not really it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to move all the way down to the downside. It just means that we're retracing. Okay, so we channeled up quite strongly. We've broken out. We've gone sideways, and we're still going sideways. For all intents and purposes, Ichimoku is still bullish. Okay, we haven't had a crossover. Chico span is above, and look at the size of the cloud here, which is giving us resistance. Okay, so we are above the 200, and you can see we have now had a 200 and 100 moving average crossover, which is also a pretty good sign for bullish action. So I think this weekly Kijinsen is obviously a very big level, so you can always expect price to take a breather here and either bounce back down to the next major level, build a base, and then attempt it a second time. So I think for me at this stage, looking at what I see here, is this level is pretty strong. So I'd want to see I just want to measure something here. 143. So I really want to see something, sort of a 1 hour crossover here, because we are bearish at the moment. So we've broken through. So Chico span has broken through the cloud. We've got a crossover here, and we've got a twist. So this is bearish at the moment, and we're below the cloud. So on the hour, very bearish. You can see at the close, we did have diversions. Okay, and now diversions, we've got a big level, and you would expect price to move to the upside. So we're now in after hours trade. So this last section here is all after hours trade at the moment. So we could just run like that for most of the morning. However, if we do drop below during the day and we sort of head towards this area, I'll definitely be looking for a long. Okay, so I'm really playing this level is pretty strong. Now this was the area to take profit, and you can see how the people are taking early profit before a final push down, and then they took profit. Okay, and that was basically from the weekly Kijinsen here. So your short traders would have been in this area here, pretty wide stops, and moving down for 260 pip. So now the question is, what kind of consolidation do we expect here? So for me, if we stay above this level here by the US Open, I will look for a long, and that long is going to be this weekly Kijinsen. Okay, so we've only had one attempt there, so I can pretty much guarantee you that the second attempt will bounce off here, and what you're looking for is a bounce off, and not to come back and test this level, but come to a 50% or 61.8% retracement. Okay, so if we just put in the Fibonacci here, okay, so what we're looking for is a move back to the side, take profit, wait for a pullback. That pullback should happen around there, which would give us our third time lucky attempt to the upside. And now if I apply that in Ichimoku perspective, we are below the cloud, so I'm expecting us to get some resistance there, get some resistance below the cloud, and possibly the top of the cloud. Okay, and I expect us to pull back, and then I expect us to push through. So it'll be 1, 2, and possibly even a little bit more the third time through the cloud. But that's kind of the way that I see this playing out at the moment. So again, looking for longs, and preferably I would prefer to take longs from here. If we do fall below during the European session, which looking at the DAX I don't think is going to happen, then I'll be looking for longs in this area here. Okay, and then obviously we do have this down trend line which hasn't been tested, so that is also a possibility. But I think let's just get this trend line drawn in properly. Okay, so that trend line was tested. Okay, so you can see you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 touches, broke out, came back and tested it once, twice before moving to the upside. So this downtrend has been tested. So there's nothing to worry about there. So the only real thing that we need to worry about right now is, well, let's just copy this because I'm pretty sure, nope, and that would have been the trend. So right now what we have is we have a new upward trend line. And I don't think there'll be anything below. So we do have a new upward trend line at this stage, and there is another one here. It's just standing out. So you can see how that tail touched it there, that touched it there, that touched it there. And I don't think we would have had anything to the downside. No. Okay. So there are two trend lines, and for me that's the one that I'm going to focus on. And then the second one will be, but even that's going to be too steep. I don't really like it being steep. Okay. But I'm also just doing this to show you something else. So you can see how we've got 3 potential trend lines here, which means we've got 3 potential angles that we could move to the upside. Obviously a break below this changes it completely. We start looking at levels to the downside. But at this stage, I'm not really looking for shorts, even though if you look at the daily, we had a spinning top sitting here, and we have reversed, and we've reversed pretty strongly. So I just don't see, this move has been pretty strong. So for me, this is just profit taking at a major level, and we have another major level here. So it's profit taking at a major level, and it's a retest of another major level. So the big thing is if we stay above this today, and I think the real level that you have is the low of yesterday. So let me just add that in to there. Let's get rid of this. Get rid of this. Okay, so for me, the low of yesterday is what we need to watch for. If we break below that and we stay below it, then this is the next level that comes into play, and then we'll look for a trade off that level. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm looking for today, and I'm just going to drill down to 15 before we close off. And the reason I'm doing that is just to look what Ichimoku is doing on the 15. And you can see we've broken through price, sugar span's broken through price, we've narrowed there, and we've had a bullish crossover here with a pretty big bar off it. So, and you can see how we're trending up, higher low, higher low. So this trend line is the one I'm going to be watching. Definitely looks like one we need to pay attention to. Okay guys, so that's kind of my view on the Dow this morning. Looking for longs, but any break below here cancels that idea. And then I'll probably be short scalps to this level before I start looking for longs again. And I can already see little head and shoulders here, which hasn't quite broken yet, but it's there. So here's the shoulder, here's the head, here's the shoulder, which is a bottoming pattern. And there's another one here. There's the shoulder, there's a head, and there's the shoulder. So quite a bit happening here, where the bulls are starting to build a base. Anyway guys, that's the Dow. Hope it helps, and I'll catch you later.